Hi, I'm Brenda Reese, freedom and forgiveness coach, and a person just like you that is learning to navigate life and all of its challenges. I teach a forgiveness process like no other. It's a blend of practical and spiritual forgiveness. This process guides you into knowing how unforgiveness can be keeping you stuck in your relationships, both personally and professionally, and how it prevents you from releasing resentment and finding joy. Each week, I share practical and some not so practical tips, tools, and advice from myself and other people that are on this journey just like us. This is for you if you are ready to turn your pain into peace. Welcome to the Forgive Yourself podcast. Hi, and welcome to the Forgive Yourself podcast with Brenda Reese. I am delighted today to bring a guest to you that I so enjoyed meeting. It's like one of those people, have you ever felt a connection right when you start talking to someone? That's what I felt talking with Sara. And I loved that we found it was mutual, not just on my part. But we had such an enjoyable conversation because this woman gets forgiveness. And so we're kindred spirits. Let me tell you a little bit about Sara before we dive in. Sara Olson, lovingly known as Coach Sara, is an artist, author, and empowerment coach who turns heartache into hope multiple times. With a zest for life and a unique blend of creativity and insight, she helps midlifers, I'm one of those, navigate divorce, loss, and change through intuitive art classes, guided meditations, and transformative courses like 12 Steps to Expressing Anger and Forgiveness, Your Path to Freedom. Oh my God, that's wonderful. Her mission is to inspire millions with compassion and forgiveness. Welcome to the Forgive Yourself podcast, Sara.
Thank you, Brenda. Such a warm welcome, and I'm honored to be here as well as get to know you. And yes, it was so mutual. I just felt like we are sisters from another mister for sure.
Oh, I loved it. I loved the connection. And of course, with a passion like we both have to really guide and help others through the things that we have gone through. It's so refreshing to meet someone where we can dive right in. It's not the small talk. It's let's go deep. And
Yeah.
That's what I felt with you. And the other thing about you was the authenticity that I felt. Your energy is calming, it's inviting, and that's so important as a coach. But it's also that you're speaking your truth. You're not hiding anything. You know what I mean? It just, you could feel that right away. And I know that people listening or watching this will be able to feel that from you also. So I love that. So I would love to know, we're going to start off with, how has forgiveness played a role for you in your business and your personal life? Because, when we're entrepreneurs, they blend.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is a foundation. Until we can look in the mirror and be able to face who we are with all of our faults, with all of our imperfections. Right now, I've got 25 extra pounds around my stomach, but I still need to love myself, right?
Yeah.
And until I could really face what I've done to others, I was hiding. I was hiding from good relationships. I was hiding from the spark, the goodness, what we're doing right now in the world. I was hiding from that, from my passion, from everything. And until I was able to really connect with forgiveness, but everybody else it's so weird, Brenda. Like, we could really easily forgive everybody else who eat a lot easier, but until we can forgive ourselves, that's when it really took off for me. That's when I was able to change my life. And that's when I was able to see that I'm here to encourage others, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. In something that you had written, you had said, until I was able to learn the beauty from the pain of mistakes and realize they were lessons, it was then I found freedom. That just resonated so much. And there's so many people that would not look at beauty from the pain of mistakes. So as you were just saying, it's easy to forgive others, but what you're talking about here is yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me a little bit more until I was able to learn the beauty from the pain of mistakes. What are you referring to there? What was it to learn the beauty of the pain of mistakes? Is there anything, something in particular that you can share, or maybe just share with us your story of how you got here and how did you learn that?
Sure. Well, it's a long road,
Oh, yeah.
but I had to really, I searched, Brenda.
Mm.
I searched through taking classes, through going to Tony Robbins events, through energy healing, through meditations. I was searching and searching and searching. But what I was really looking for were the lessons.
Mm.
And that's the beauty, Brenda. Until we can change that perspective that somebody did this to me, to no, I put myself in, I'm just as responsible for getting myself into the situation because I didn't set a boundary or I didn't listen to my body because our body tells us, hey, this doesn't
Yeah.
feel right.
Hmm.
Um, but I learned, and that's the beautiful part. And I can look back now and say, you know what? That that innocent little girl who was a young 20-year-old who was doing the best she could, who had so much hope, who had love for so many people, she didn't understand what she was getting into. And to have that compassion of that little girl that we are, or that little boy that we are inside. And that's what became beautiful, is I was able to, instead of look at myself as being angry at myself or upset at myself or regretting myself, we can be our worst enemy so many times, so much in life.
Yeah.
And until I was able to change that perspective through neurolinguistic programming,
Mm.
you asked how. So neurolinguistic programming, I I don't know if you're familiar with Marissa Peer, but she was one of my early
Yes.
folks that I followed, and she said to write on the mirror, write that message on the mirror, you're worthy. And I did
Mm.
that. And I wrote this list of who I envisioned myself that I wanted to be, instead of
Mm.
this weak person, this this person who had anxiety, this person who couldn't speak up for herself, this person who couldn't contextualize or put into words what my needs were. I didn't even know what my needs were. And so through this last decade in my life, I've changed so much, and I identified like what my needs are,
Mm.
who who I was, and what felt good. And that's the beauty of it, Brenda. That's the beauty, is being able to discover who I was at the soul level, and that I have a light inside, and that I have so much to give, and that those mistakes that I made are, it's okay, because they brought me to where I am, that every single part of those mistakes gave me the grit and the determination and the zest for life and the love for life. And this is what I offer others. And that's okay. Because if I had to go through that pain to encourage somebody else, a single parent, somebody who was codependent, somebody who was stuck in anger or grief or unforgiveness, that if I could somehow give that message of hope, then it's worth it, right?
Absolutely. And I love that because something else that you had said in our conversation was the freedom to face yourself in the mirror, which you talked about the mirror, but also forgiving yourself despite your flaws.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That one, people are going to go, yeah, I hear you, Hope. I hear all that stuff, Coach Sarah, but you don't know my story, right? But no, I can't do that. So, in your journey, what was the kind of there's never one thing, but being able to accept yourself, like life is happening for me, not to me, right? That I'm a participant in this. I'm learning these lessons like you just talked about. How did you face yourself in the mirror? Do you remember starting off trying to even do that? Like you're writing the message, you're worthy on there, but did you believe it? Did
At
you
first,
believe it at
no,
first? Yeah.
no. And I cried.
Yeah.
I was I hired a coach in 2019, and this is where I learned it from her. And she said, "Okay, set a timer for 5 minutes."
Oh,
And I encourage our listeners to do this too.
yes.
Set a timer for 5 minutes and look at yourself in the mirror and say, "I love you."
Mhm.
And do it for 21 days in a row. And I did that, Brenda, and I cried. And it was hard to look at myself. And she said, do it naked.
Oh,
Yeah.
ouch. That's throwing you right
So,
into the fire.
yeah. And at this time, I was, I think, very, very, very overweight. I was like 220 pounds. And so to look myself in the mirror, I was ashamed of myself. I was ashamed of the woman looking back at myself. So, no, it's not easy. It's not easy. And I understand where you're at. And I understand how you feel. I understand that you feel broken. I understand that you have tried everything. I understand. I understand that. But what has gotten me through the tough times is that hope, hope for my children, hope of a better future for not just myself, but my loved ones, my family, and just, those dreams that are in your heart that you had when you were a little child. They're there for a reason. And it's okay even, to chase them. One of my favorite sayings is, you can't have a bad day with bubbles.
That's perfect. So true. Or balloons.
Right.
Right.
So, it's a good way to remind us that, hey, we're all still children inside, and nurture that. Where if you had a tough upbringing, or, you were raised in a dysfunctional family like I was, you can now be your own parent. You can now give yourself that time to play. And really, that's all that we are. We're just grown children, right?
Oh, we are. And I love that. And you can have a bad day with bubbles. I think everyone should have bubbles, right? I mean, we should have certain, it's like we lose that
Yeah,
as adults. We think we need to be, adults and we have to put away all that stuff. And it's not true. It's really not true. And I really value that. So thank you because that's a huge reminder to play,
yeah,
right? Because that's what you do in a way with your art.
correct. Yeah,
Could you talk a little bit about that? Because that is so cool to me about bringing the art into the healing process or into, our personal growth. Tell us how you started doing that and what are the results that you've seen with
sure.
clients?
Thank you. Yeah, it's a journey. I didn't start out when I was younger, 10 years, 15 years ago. If anybody would have said that I'd be doing this at this point in time, I'm like, you're crazy. But I remember in 2020, as all of us were going through a hard time, right? I was experiencing a change in career and loss of a relationship. I had a breakup. My heart was broken, and I had turned to energy healing for the first time. And so I started this journey of um, healing at the cellular level and the soul level.
Mm.
And I had dated somebody in 2017, and he was an artist. And so for date nights, we would paint, and he commented, he said, you have some skill there with, you know, it's all like cool. And so, just for fun as a hobby, I would paint. And, I was sharing with you the other day, like my second painting I ever did, and it was like 7 years ago, was a Phoenix.
Yes, I love that.
And it's become my signature piece. So for the same reasons as you and I didn't realize it, but rising from the ashes, and that has really been my mantra, is to each time I've had to learn these hard life lessons, I've had to, recreate my life and grow from that, right? And learn the lessons and move on and hopefully not make those mistakes again. uh,
Well, or we make them a little differently.
yeah. So just can I just have the gentler lessons this
Yes,
time, please? Not
exactly.
the hard lessons.
Yeah, please. Right.
So yeah, so then in 2020 I had left a job that I had been in and for 11 years. I knew that I had more to give to the world from my unique background of two divorces, death threats, rape, all kinds of stuff. I mean, I can't make this stuff up. So I just really started turning inward. And I remember one day, it was after I was exercising, I was on the treadmill in my basement, and I just had this vision of six different paintings. And I I was just so emotional. Like I just started crying, and I got on my knees, and I was just like, you know, just embracing this vision. It was beautiful. And so I took out my phone and I was taking notes as quick as I could to capture all of them. And each one of them represented something different in the relationship that I had broken up, had been in.
Okay.
And one of them represented something special, and another one represented grief. And so I began painting these. And
Mm.
it took me about 70 hours, not consecutive. I did I did have a break, but within 2 weeks I painted all six of these pictures. And halfway through it, I was like, wow. I was on the painting that I call grief. And the vision that I had, it was a picture of my mom and dad's graveside. My mom and dad have both passed away.
Mhm.
And I depicted it, had these words, and it had my parents' graveside and then family members. And Brenda, this was the hardest painting I've ever done in my whole life because it had so much intensity in it. I
I
mean,
bet.
I, I would have it on the table and I would have to turn it over because it was just powerful. I mean, it had this energy coming from it. It was just powerful. And I knew right then that I had something special because I knew that this was actually helping me express the grief that was inside and actually help me feel healed and better. And I was able to, once I expressed that, I was able to move forward and get it, move on. I mean, we always have grief in our life for different reasons, but this particular season of my life. And so at that point in time, I kind of switched gears and created a program. And I used the background that I had with the 20 years of management experience, leadership experience, the training that I've done, as well as the different techniques that I've learned with Tony Robbins and the other mentors that I've had throughout the years. And I just created my own program. And that's kind of how it was birthed back in 2020. And some of the clients that I've worked with, it was just been beautiful transition for them. One comes to mind where it was this lady, she was in her 60s and she had the story of that she had been abandoned in her life
Mm.
from when she was about 10 years old. She had the story that she kept telling herself for decades. And so each week, we met and then we would meet, we have a discussion, then we would paint together, or I would have a subject and for her to paint and process that. Well, at the end of it, she said, Sarah, for 50 years of my life, I had this message, a story that I had been abandoned. And now through this session, I have been able to change that to
Mhm.
that actually was better, that actually was meant to happen, like we say. And she had freedom for the first time in 50 years. It was beautiful.
Oh my gosh. That is fantastic. So what did you do with these 6 pictures?
For myself, actually, some of them are for sale on my website, and others I actually have just kept. One day I want to get a gallery and be able to post them in an art gallery, but I'm not quite there yet. But yeah, for some of them, I some of my art, it actually has an energy about it, a healing energy, I believe. And I think it resonates with other people. And so some of those pictures are for sale on my website, like I said. And yeah, so they're just stashed away for safekeeping right now.
Oh, this is good because as you heal, like painting is an art, whether it's painting or drawing or writing, whatever that is, has a healing quality, especially painting and or doing mandalas.
Sure.
Like I learned to do the coloring piece, right? Because it's like with the mandalas, I have a mandala book with an 11-step forgiveness process and a mandala with each one. And the reason why I did that was because I learned really young not to color outside the lines,
Mm,
right? And the first thing that I know that I guided to do when I started on my personal growth and spiritual growth journey was to scribble, paint, just finger paint, do all this stuff that I wasn't allowing myself to do. I tried to paint.
mm.
I tried to paint. And I had that little blank canvas thing in front of me, and I was frozen in fear. I did not know what to, I mean, it was like my whole right side was blocked. because
Mm.
I had just gone left brained. I had just, we're going to figure this out. We're just going to go, go, go. So, how do you encourage people like that would like me? Like you're saying, "Hey, let's paint this. I feel your grief. I feel these things." How do you encourage people? Because I was just with a friend and she's just got just paint. That's what she kept telling me. Just paint. And I mean, I'm panicked. I'm anxiety ridden over I did not know there's no lines for me. There's no
Yep.
lines. So, how do you help people through that?
Well, I just want to encourage you, Brenda, and it's really brave of you to be able to do that despite your anxiety about it. So I want to commend you
Mhm.
for that, first of all. A lot of people feel the same way. We're adults now, and when we were children, we wanted to be, oh, I just can't wait till I'm an adult so I can do this or that. And so really, our society has pushed us to become adults as
Yeah.
faster than we should actually, and especially now, like where everything's at our fingertips, right? So anyone in your situation, I just want to encourage you and people listening, like, art is a space where there are no rules,
Mhm.
and it's hard to go there. We're driving down the road, we have to abide by the laws, we have to we have to stop at the stop signs, we have to
Right.
we have to keep it under a certain speed. And so we're so conditioned, um, from our childhood, like I say, to color within the lines, right?
Mhm.
And so what I help encourage people to do is just get rid of all those rules.
Mm.
There's a blank canvas or a blank sheet of paper, and you're not going to put it in a museum. It doesn't have to go in a museum. You can paint on it. You can express what you're feeling. You can burn it. You can throw it away. Nobody has to see it, right? But what happens is we get conditioned to, we want it to have museum called quality, or we want it to somebody
Perfect.
to,
Perfect.
right, exactly. We're trying to have that perfection,
Yep.
and that's just not life. That's just not realistic. And so first I want to encourage people, like, it's it's just a piece of paper. And there's no, I am not the best artist by any means at all. And one of the techniques that I learned along the way, and what I love to do with others, is what I call intuitive painting, intuitive art, where you actually look at the piece of paper or the canvas and you say, okay, what do you want to be painted? What do you want to look
Mhm.
like? And
Ooh.
and so it takes the pressure off of you, and it becomes organic and becomes fun and playful. And another thing I want to encourage you and others is, we get life can be so serious. And one of the reasons why I love to say we can't have a bad day with bubbles is because it brings the playfulness back in. It
Yes.
brings the lightheartedness in. And, I encourage, just take, if we had a recess when we were kids, let's take a recess when we're adults too, you
There
know?
you go. Right on. I love that. Well, I ended up, it was hours, but on this one, finally, my friend noticed I was just frozen. And she says, okay, wait, and this was an interesting thing to kind of get me out of the frozen and fear, right? Of not being able to
Yeah,
move. Was she said, what do you like? And all I said was angels. I love angels, right? I love it all sorts of hearts and angels. And she said, okay, can I help you with something? And so she just drew the outline of a wing, just like that. She just did this little whoop. That's all that I needed. It was like,
yeah,
okay. And it got me out of that fear, like a guy, like somebody right here. And I had a line. I didn't have to stay in it, right? Like she said.
right,
Now she goes, you don't you do whatever you want with this line. And she said, but don't, you just do this. But that really helped take me out of that. And I drew this, and it's the only painting I've done. And since talking to you, the other day, I'm like, hmm, maybe I might want to try it. See, it's like I'm wanting to bring more play back in my life because adulting is too serious. What's going on in the world, too serious.
yeah,
We have been taught, programmed, all of that stuff to not use our creative side, to think, knowledge, all of that. And so I'm loving that you're bringing that into your coaching, into your guidance, because it changes how we feel about ourselves. And I think too, it brought more compassion to myself. And
Mm-hmm.
you talk a lot about hope, and you have in our conversation, we're talking about compassion, and you said it changed your worldview, or it shaped your worldview. So how would you describe that? How has compassion shaped your worldview?
Yeah, thank you. It goes back to forgiveness, Brenda, where when I can put myself in somebody else's shoes,
Mm-hmm.
when somebody else who maybe they're not doing something good, but if I can put myself in their shoes and say, why would they be acting this way? And take the 50,000-foot view and look at it
Mm-hmm.
and say, well, maybe they're stealing because they're hungry.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're lashing out because they're hurt inside.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they're saying these things because that's what their parents told them when they were little. And so if we can look beyond the veil and be colorblind as we see the people around us and realize that they are only who they are because of where they've been and what they've been experienced to. And I also want forgiveness and compassion from those that I have hurt too.
Yes.
And so if we can empathize with those who may be doing something that isn't good, like we say in the world, or towards other people, but also reflect on, hey, I've been there too. I haven't done everything right either. And it helps bring the human aspect to it. And then we're able to hopefully have more world peace and be able to move forward and get beyond what that situation might be.
I love that. Thank you. And I love that because compassion is just a kissing cousin with forgiveness. It is. And kindness. I share with people, it's like if we can't be compassionate, let's at least be kind first, the baby step. And then
Mm-hmm.
when we have compassion for ourselves, we can then have compassion for others. But a beautiful
Mm-hmm.
way to do that is to know there's another story, to know that this
Right.
person's not an asshole just because. There
Yeah.
is some reason, very few, small percentage of people are, come into the world without any feeling, right? And,
Yeah.
I was looking that up. And we learn that along the way and having that compassion. And I love like having compassion for ourselves, starting with the mirror, work and just starting simple with those things and with others. And something else I wanted to touch on was single parenting. You have some experience with that. And so, there's a lot of us out there with even small kids, grown kids. So, what message do you have for single parents?
I know you feel like you are backed up against the wall. You're trying everything. You have the weight of the world on your shoulders and you don't have all the answers, but you don't have to. Have compassion for yourself and be gentle with yourself and know how far you have come and how far you have to go, but you don't have to climb the mountain in one day. It takes one step at a time, and all you need to know is the next step in front of you.
Mm.
And your two biggest jobs right now is to, number one, just take care of yourself. And then number two, take care of your children.
Mm.
And it's okay to say no. You don't have to do everything for everyone. And follow the joy.
Mm.
Follow what makes you happy. And it's okay to have a messy house.
Yes.
It's okay to not do everything perfect. That's life. And one day it'll get better.
It's beautiful. And, we carry so much as parents. I'm not even just going to say mom. Mom guilt is a big thing. But I think, there's single dads or even dads have guilt too. And I think that's where we can be easier on ourselves. And when we lose it with our kids and we yell, we can say, I'm sorry, because that's how our children learn. It's like we're going to make
Right.
mistakes, right? We're human. And, and just really taking a look at the guilt. That's a big thing for me is the shame and the guilt, which it is for you too. And guiding people through going, a lot of the guilt we carry is unhealthy. It's unhealthy guilt. It's not even, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm just doing the best that I can. And bringing in that, again, compassion is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, beautiful. So I'd like to, before we kind of close and have people know where to get more information about you, how would you share with someone how they can, if they feel like they're hitting rock bottom, what could they do? What helped you when you really felt rock bottom? I know we hit several rock bottoms, but what kind of a guidance would you give if somebody feels they're there?
Well, take inventory, and the best day is yet to come. It's when we are in our rock bottom phase that we are most powerful,
Mm.
because that gives us the momentum and the courage to say, I never want to be there again. And you also have the power to change your life at any step of the way. Whenever there's a major change, a major loss, a divorce, children are leaving home, that's an exciting time. I know sometimes we get scared, but I just
Mhm.
want to encourage you, if you're going through right now, it's actually can be exciting because you can redefine your life. You can change your life, and you can, move. You can do a different career. You could find out what's really passionate inside, what you're passionate about, and rediscover that. And so I just want to encourage you that if you feel like you're at rock bottom and you've hit a wall and you have nowhere else to go, it's actually an exciting place to be. And I just want to encourage you to keep searching, keep finding, and climb your way out. Find the freebie stuff. If you don't have a lot of money right now, there's a lot of free resources out there. I've got some free resources that I'm going to be sharing with you today. And
Mhm.
there's so much information out there. And the beautiful thing about the world today is with the internet is that we have the answers out there, and just keep searching and don't give up.
Oh, that's powerful. Thank you. And you can feel it. You can feel that you're coming from a place, I know what that's like.
Yeah.
And we aren't. If we can do it, other people can too, even though they don't feel like it. It's
Hmm.
true. We're not
Hmm.
that unique. That
Yeah.
one person, it's like, no, we all have it. We all can persevere. We all have resilience. It's just learning to tap into it and giving ourselves the permission to do it.
Hmm.
And you have some free resources, I think, on your website, but you're going to share one with us today about rising from the ruined toolkit. There we go.
Yes.
Rising from the ruined toolkit to rediscover and rebuild. Can you say just a little bit about that? Like, what would somebody get from doing this free gift that you're giving?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I was thinking about a month ago, I was sitting on my couch reflecting. I was like, okay, if I had to do it all over again 10 years ago when I didn't have any answers, what would I need? And these are 6 different resources that I actually used myself to figure out my personality, to figure out what my greatest human need was, and also what I'm passionate about, what I'm good about in life. So they're all tools and resources that you've probably heard of, like the Tony Robbins 6 Human Needs Test and some other ones like that. But what I did is I packaged them all together. And I
Nice.
also have a couple encouraging words and a little bit more about my story and some other freebies in there too. So that's really what it is. It's these basically 6 different resources that I found myself along the way that took me years to figure out. And
Yeah.
um, so that's what my gift is to you. And really anybody who wants to figure out more about themselves, or especially if you're going through a major change right now in your life, they'd be great resource to use.
Oh, thank you for that. That's really exciting. We're going to have that in the show notes along with ways to contact you. But you want to go ahead and give your website and you social media? How can people learn more about you?
Thank you. Yeah. So my website is mycourageousmasterpiece.com. So you can find me there. And I've got guided meditations, I've got courses, I've got all kinds of stuff on there, a poem book that I did. And then on YouTube, you can follow me and at Coach Sara 17. And that's Sarah without an H. I tell everybody I'm on the A team.
That's nice.
And then on LinkedIn, I'm Coach Sara as well.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Sara, for giving all you did today and for sharing with us. And I really appreciate it. And I'm so happy that we got to know each other. And I'm going to encourage everyone to check out Sara's information and her website. And because, we owe it to ourselves. We do. And that we are worthy of being loved. We're worthy of loving ourselves and having that compassion and kindness that we so easily can give to someone else rather than ourselves. And I encourage you to re-listen to this and to take these tidbits that she gave, these little exercises, which I love, and try them out and let us know how it goes, because we'd love to know. So thank you again, Sara. Is there any last words you want to say with people before we close out our session together?
Thank you, Brenda. It's been an honor to be your guest and like you said, to get to know you. Thank you so much. And if you're listening out here today and you're searching, just keep going. But really the answers are inside. The answer is just listen to how someone makes you feel. Listen to your heart. Let your heart guide you, and you will not go wrong. So I just encourage you to keep going.
Oh, I love it. Yes, encourage, because we are worthy. And, we've got to learn that, because some of us, it's been programmed right out of us that we're not worthy. And that's not, that's not us. That's not who we truly are. So I encourage you all to listen in, re-listen to this, and check out Coach Sara, because she's got some beautiful resources. And maybe you can learn to paint, because I think I'm going to check this out too. All right. Meanwhile, take care. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did enjoy it, would you do me a favor and share this episode, and then follow us on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss one episode of the Forgive Yourself podcast, where every Friday you will get tips, tools, and stories so that you can turn your pain into peace. Take care.